Hello? I don't like talking in front of people, and I can't stand using one of these, so bear with me. But that being said,
And to use your hands.
and everybody tells me, my name's Denise, I live in Romulus, all right? Everything here is pretty much above my pay grade, all right? And I know there's been a lot of work put into this. But about a year ago, I had it confirmed when I spoke with the Romulus Schools superintendent that there are about, and I know back in 2010, 2011, there's 478 kids in Romulus. There apparently are about 60, maybe even a few more than that are out of resident students that do not, and if it's been changed since then I stand corrected, but they do not pay a tuition to the school district. And I know you mentioned, I really feel nervous, so bear with me, all right?
Take your time.
No, I know, I just feel nervous. You would have had to take that issue into account. You took into account homeschool, you took into account the Mennonites, and there's been so many numbers up here specifically dealing with class sizes, cost per student, etc. I believe you would have needed to take it into account that a merger of the school and the school board combined would have to approve and continue that policy, which would allow non-residents to be able to attend school without paying any tuition. How did that get addressed?
We did look at that, non-residents. And if you look at the full report, which I'd encourage you to do,
yes, you did.
You'll see that it's mentioned in there about non-residents attending the districts as well. Again, what we tried to do was just highlight. Certainly we couldn't go into everything, but we tried to highlight some of the critical pieces. But the committee, we did get into the non-resident students attending school here.
Well, did you get into the issue? And obviously you know where I'm headed with this. I live in Romulus. I want kids to get good educations. I want teachers to be well compensated. I want all those good things. But I am honestly saying, it is absolutely burdening regular old folk, at least this is me and me only speaking, who live, now it's clearer to me, particularly in Romulus, it really is going to be driving people right out of this community, all right? And I really think that that's headed down the pike. And when obviously, I'm headed in a direction here. Clearly, I don't feel that it has been fair to the people who are paying taxes to be supporting. And if you look at some of these costs per students, you know, one report, and I get them all confused, is 12 grand a student, then it's 22 grand a student, then it's 18 grand a student. Basically, it boils down to 60 kids and a real good chunk of change. And I can't figure out who's paying for them, and obviously it's bothering me. I mean, not only just the student, but did anyone look into how all these numbers would be affected if finally they're told they have to contribute their fair share and decide to go back to their other districts?
Well, let me try to answer it. First of all, yes.
Thanks.
Yes, the committee did get information on non-resident students that are attending the district, and that's an individual board policy. And the new Board of Education will have to decide, probably will have to develop all new policies, and I assume that they will do is they'll take a look at the existing policies on non-residents coming into the district and whether they should be paying a tuition rate. Some districts exclude, some boards of education exclude any non-residents. Some just say we'll take employees' children, and as a benefit to those employees, they can bring their children to the district at no cost. Some districts say you can bring your children if you're an employee or if you live outside the district, but we're going to charge a tuition rate, and they fix a tuition rate at an amount they set. Some use what's known as, statewide, the Seneca Falls formula, which is a formula that's used to calculate non-resident tuition rates, which is very expensive. So that it's all over the board in terms of what districts do, but that's a district-by-district board policy decision that's made. And the new Board of Education, not these folks sitting around the table, will take a look at what each previous district did if a merger were to occur and establish a new policy. Do we want to allow employees to bring their kids here? And if so, are we going to charge them tuition or not? Do we want to accept other non-residents? But that'll be a policy decision, but the non-residents were discussed in our enrollment section of the report.
And if I could just point out that that is a contractual thing with the Romulus Teachers Association, that their children can come to our district tuition free. So it is a contractual issue at Romulus.
Yeah. About half of those students are teachers' kids, by the way, in Romulus. And if you want to look at it, it's on page 22 in the report when you get there.
I have actually two questions. The first one I think is fairly brief. Is there a place in the report that it reflects what the increased transportation costs are expected to be and what the increased transportation times are expected to be? I know that you referenced that no student would be on the bus for more than an hour, but what are the students on the bus for now? Okay, coming obviously from the north end of the Romulus district. Okay, how long are they on the bus now, and what would be expected, and what is the incremental cost?
First of all, there's no students. Our recommendation that we're making with in-district transportation is consistent with what's currently done in the two districts. So there are no students in district that are on the bus more than an hour. And so working with the transportation directors, and they're looking at their routing under their separate districts as well as a possible merged district, they assured us without any additional cost in terms of driver time or additional buses and so forth, they could develop a routing plan to meet that hour requirement without adding any additional cost. So talking with the transportation directors who know their budgets as well as their transportation routing, we didn't go beyond their advice in terms of what would happen as far as the specific routing or any specific or costs or savings. So we took them at their
So just to clarify, my kid is going to go an additional 10 miles each way to school and it's free?
No. You have to understand that, as Alan just mentioned, there will be some youngsters that will ride longer. There will be some youngsters that will ride less time, right? But overall, again, I can only relate to what the transportation directors have advised us is when they sat down and they looked at their routes, they felt given the existing budget and existing routes, there would not be additional cost and they could meet the 1 hour maximum time limit that currently is somewhat adhered to.
Additional distance, no cost increase.
Again,
That's what you're telling me.
I'm saying some youngsters will ride the bus longer,
Okay.
some will ride it less. Again, to answer your question, we didn't do any detailed analysis beyond what the trans directors did, and we believe and trust their judgment in making that decision on cost and ride length, or time, I should say.
Okay. I want that vehicle, okay, that goes further for the same cost. But my second question, I think, actually goes probably back to the board, because I've asked this question to the consultants before and been told it's out of the scope of the study. But my big concern, actually, to echo what Denise is saying, is the effect on, the kids as far as, not their academics specifically, but the effect on the kids, the well-being of the kids as far as the adjustment and the whole, loss of identity and all that kind of stuff, the effect on the communities. The community of Romulus, without a lot of the traffic that comes into town, is going to be a totally different community. And the effect on property values. And you've referenced a number of times tonight other communities that have gone through mergers. I'd really be interested to see the information from those communities as to what those less tangible effects are, as far as the effect on the kids overall for the transition, the effect on the communities, and the effect on the real estate values in those communities.
I would just say there's only 2 studies that I know of that have been done on the impact on real estate values following a school district merger. One was done by a guy named Bradenton, and another one was done by a doctoral student at Syracuse University, because I was involved in helping her with her doctoral work. And the conclusion is that, well, first of all, school district reputations are important in terms of housing value. There's no question about that. The districts that have stronger reputations, housing values clearly are higher. And you see that with real estate ads, I'm sure, in your area, just like most areas of the state. Realtors will say such and such a house in such and such a school district, right? So we know from research that there is a correlation between a school district's perception of quality and property values. What we don't know yet, because there's only been 2 studies, definitively, is does the perception of a school district improve after it's merged from 2 previous or 3 previous districts, and does that reputation, if it does improve, impact housing values? We don't know that yet. But we do know that district reputation and housing values are linked.
If I could just, one thing about the kids. I think our children are very resilient, and I know that a lot of them are already interacting in a lot of different ways with 4-town sports, 4-H, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. One little litmus example possibly is our recent combination of the girls' volleyball team. That was really our first foray into that. And the girls' biggest concern was, one of the things they were most energetic about was picking out new uniforms and colors. So that's a good thing. One example, just to show for potential.
And to take that a little bit further, I think that we, as both our communities, have worked close together in a lot of different areas in a lot of different ways. And I believe that we're closer as communities than maybe we might think we are. And so I think that through merged sports, through 4 towns, through many different ways, through the Seneca community players and on, we've worked together in a lot of ways, and I think we can continue on that road. So